Order, please. Let us resume proceedings. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand.
Alright, well hello everybody, Allie here, and welcome to the gold mine. Thank you so much for joining me here on another episode of Allie's Treasure Trove, as I'm totally not taking off the Q hotkey right now, because I 100% did that before we started. Sure thing, 100%. We are about to get into episode number 18 here, so we are closing in here about halfway through, I believe, the episode in-game number 5, Trial Part 2 here, and we're going back to Beavis and Butthead, trying to figure out what they were really up to. Last episode we did see with juror number 3, Mr. Stereoscope Guy, that putting together the picture of 1 a.m. and 1:30 a.m. showed that the stuff on Mr. Windibank's front counter did shift slightly. So what were they digging for? Very important questions here we have to figure out, as under oath, these two model citizens here said that they didn't have time to do anything, they just came in, heard a gunshot, and ran away scared. But apparently they had enough time to poke around, so did they also have enough time to murder Mr. Windibank? I say yes. Right now, most other people say no. I don't understand why these people are so hateful towards Gina. I mean, of course, we are presented with a different perspective here. On the outside looking in, this little 16-year-old girl is doing a little hold up to Mr. Windibank at 1 a.m., caught on camera with her pointing a gun at him. And then in a locked room, she is found with gun in hand and dead Mr. Windibank. Seems very clear cut from the outside, but we know the truth. So anyways, let's get on into it here. Back to the judge.
I presume you heard the defense counsel summation examination.
Oh, yeah, Governor. I did, Gov. I did. Mr. Skulkin.
Court, blimey.
This is going to be hard work. Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windibank's.
Well, it was bedlam as soon as, weren't it? It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull my dukes out my loose lockets.
However, that was a lie. You brothers.
Court, blimey.
On the night in question, you rifled through items on the victim's counter.
We never done nothing of the sort. How'd you figure that out? Bro, why would you say that? Bro, I can't believe you would do that to me, bro. Bro, why would you do that? You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question, and this time, you will tell the truth.
Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. And yeah, we also discovered peak racism on behalf of Mr. Van Zeeks over here. Also, we may or may not have confirmed his name is pronounced Baroque, because Ira said, "Oh, Cooey! Cooey, how can you be so rude?" I'm assuming she's taking that from the Baroque part at the end of his name there. I honestly had no idea whether it was Baroque or Baroque, B-A-R-O-K. Felt like it could swing either way. Makes sense as Baroque, but I don't know why you wouldn't just spell it Baroque. I don't know. Either way, that is also something we picked up on last episode, maybe. There's a little bit of a throwaway from Iris, but maybe. Maybe I'm on to something here, maybe I'm not.
A thought worth pondering, perhaps.
Say no more, Gov, we hear ya. We'll blab, we'll squeak, we'll peach. Illegal entry, the whole truth. Supposedly. Alright, we did not confuse things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing.
It was when we heard the gunshot, see? We both made us jump and all that stuff went flying. Lummy, it didn't have to give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter'd come out the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where we found it and scalped straight into him in the black.
We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never had a chance, did we? Oh yeah, what makes you jump to that conclusion? Almost like you're worried about getting caught for shooting the pawnbroker. Huh, what a coinkydink.
So you admit to the defense's accusation? You did indeed ransack Mr. Winterbank's countertop on the night in question?
Not ransack, Governor, no. That's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tidied up, yeah. Oh, Van Zies didn't like that. Sorry.
By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good of their mess.
The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all. We don't, Nash, we don't. Can't he make us sound a bit more cutthroat? It can't just be coincidence that these men showed up at Winterbank's that night. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye. I'm sure of it. I'm just gonna press everything.
Hold it!
If that's the case, then why didn't you testify to that effect in the first place? Well, you know, we ain't exactly squeaky clean, are we? We ain't, Nash, we ain't. If we admitted to something like that, people would think we was up to no good. Well said, Ringo, me old China. We only land ourselves in more trouble. And in fact now, as a result of lying in your previous testimony, that's exactly what you've done. Landed yourselves in even more trouble. That's rotten luck. Says the rotten apple eater.
Witnesses, explain your actions to the court. Why did you ransack the victim's counter?
We never ransacked nothing. Right, Nash, right. More like we tidied the place up. Sorry. All that stuff went flying. What stuff? You want to describe what stuff? So what you're saying is, the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much, you knocked all those things off the counter? Well, it shocked one of us that much, yeah. This bag of nerves needs to learn to keep his shirt on. Look, it was loud, alright. Blimey, me dead granny would have woken up at that bang. Big brother here screamed like a bloomin' baby and fell over on the counter. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette, what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them scales on the floor. You've really mastered working quietly, then. What a racket, me granny would have scared back into a grave at a clatter like that. So in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. And then some. I mean, it was quiet. Ooh. Gregson has something to say. It was quiet as a mouse, and then all of a sudden, bam!
Excuse me!
You got something to say, Inspector? Inspector Gregson, do you have something to add? Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels! No, something to add about their testimony. You seemed to react just now at what Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something? It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only... Well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details. How about you just tell us what's on your mind? Oh, well, Mr. Winterbank's gun had a silencer on it. That would be super convenient if that's what he said right here. As you know, we brought these fellas into the yard for questioning last night. And the statement they gave then told a slightly different story to what they're saying now. Did it? You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot. Might have, Gov, might have. Does ring a bell now you mention it. Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still. I can't help feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with your testimony here, eh, fellas?
If I discover the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it has hitherto been proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them.
Easy, easy. We'll get it right this time.
That's it, yep, it's all coming back to me now.
Then speak. Supplement your testimony with whatever details have miraculously returned to your questionable minds. Sirs. Oh, they get the sir treatment. They don't get the learned criminal friend treatment. You're right, Gov. Interesting. Just before the gunshot, we heard a voice yelling out, "Give me that gun!"
Hold it!
That seems kind of important. So in fact, you heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously. We did, Gov, we did. Although, I suppose if you're being honest, we heard a kind of wavering voice before the yell and all. If you don't want to get shot, give me that gun. Kind of thing. See, that makes no sense from their perspective. Who would be saying, if you don't want to get shot, give me the gun? Obviously, it's not Mr. Windibank. He's about to get shot, supposedly. Gina has no reason. It's almost like Mr. Windibank defended Gina from these Beavis and Buttheads. You know, Gina to give him the gun back so that they don't get shot, but then he got shot. That's what I figure this is going to interpret to be. Because it makes no sense for them to say that to each other whatsoever. A career at acting tragically missed. And where were the voices coming from? Could you tell? Of course we could. From the other side of that door behind the counter it was. From the storeroom where the victim was found dead. And the voice you heard, was it that of the victim, Mr. Windibank? Oh, me granny's life, course it was. On his granny's life, course it was. So, that would mean that you both knew Mr. Windibank and the sound of his voice. Oh, so that would mean what? What, Nash? What? Any ideas?
Yes, counsel, indeed it would.
Nah, we didn't know the geezer. How am I supposed to deny it when the bloke in the fancy clobber's giving us the evil eye? If you value your lives, you will ensure your testimony is accurate and true. Oh, me granny's life, it is. On his granny's life, it must be. It's a good job his granny's dead. To summarize then, immediately after hearing the voice of the victim, you then hear the gunshot, causing you to stumble and upset the items on the counter, scattering them over the shop floor. You make it sound like we're clumsy. Don't forget we tidied up after like good little boys. Anyway, the way I see it. Interesting testimony. The bloke what owned the place was holding a gun, so he should have just fired instead of yelling at the girl.
Hold it!
You're saying that Mr. Windibank had a gun in his hands. Oh yeah, but that was a sight, eh? The two of them waving guns at each other. Must have got pretty heated. I mean, just before he shouted out, we heard the geezer say, "If you don't want to get shot." Didn't really sound like he meant it, mind. More of an empty threat, you could say. Mr. Windibank was known to keep a revolver on his shop counter at all times. People say that to protect the articles in his keeping, he'd readily put a bullet in someone's head if required. That someone, being himself, of course.
Good grief, extraordinary devotion indeed, if alarmingly misguided.
Well, he certainly sounded like he was ready to pull the trigger on the night. Only the person he was going to shoot beat him to it. Cook this goose proper. Bet he wished he'd squeeze the trigger instead of wasting time shouting, "Give me that gun." And it was directly after those words that you heard the gunshot? It was more or less at the same time, Gov. Give me that gun. Bam! Kinda thing. Yes, a career in acting very tragically missed. And then we heard the sound of someone hitting the deck. Before everything went dead quiet. After that, we'd done a slapdash job tidying the place up.
Hold it!
So, you didn't try to open the storeroom door then? Not on your life. It went deathly quiet after that, it did. Put the wind right up me. But anyway, the door was locked, weren't it? There's no way that was opening. Yes, of course, it was locked from the inside, or so we've been led to believe. It was, Gov, it was from the inside. Right, so we had no way of knowing what was going on in there, did we? Unless there was some other way to get a view of inside the storeroom. Like through the keyhole, or a spy hole, perhaps? Don't ring no bells, don't light no lights! We had to cut and run before we noticed anything like that. We were still cutting our teeth in this game, see, but one day... we'll really cut the mustard. Please, cut it out. But as we know, behind that door was the victim's lifeless body, with the accused not 2 feet away. Yes, unfortunately. They were pointing guns at each other, but we never looked in the window. Gina was in there unconscious with the gun in her hand. To confirm, would it be correct to say that neither of you set foot inside the storeroom? That's right, Gov, that's right. Couldn't have, even if we wanted to.
Hold it!
Yes, whereupon you fired a shot from your own gun at Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Oh, yeah, we was a bit hasty there. We was, Nash, we was. Truth be told, I was already shaking like a leaf when you lot turned up. If you're shaking like a leaf, don't put a loaded gun in your hand. Good advice, miss, good advice. Truth be told, me mind went totally blank. Before your mind goes totally blank, make sure you don't have a loaded gun in your hand. Mental note made, miss. After that, we legged it down the street, but apparently we looked dodgy to the coppers or summit, so they clapped the darbies on us like winking. After you'd been handcuffed, the police found this revolver in your possession, correct? Well, yeah. But listen, that proves it, doesn't it, eh? We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never had a chance, did we?
Hold it!
And why should we believe that? What? Well, because it's true, isn't it? The place was totally empty when we went in. At that time, the victim was already in the storeroom, having been forced to open the door by the accused who had a gun to his head. In other words, on the night in question, these two witnesses never even laid eyes on the proprietor of the pawnbrokery, Mr. Winterbank. Correct. You've got it, mister. Down to a T. So the Skulkin brothers never actually encountered Mr. Winterbank. Is that really true, I wonder? That's it? That's the full extent of their testimony. What is it, Runo? You look very fierce. I could pour you some herbal tea if you're tired. Oh, thank you, but I'm fine. Being such a logical thinker, you'll probably laugh. But I feel as though these brothers are still hiding something important. It is nothing more than a feeling, though. I have no proof to support it. Well, feelings can be very logical at times. Sorry. People's expressions, the movement of their eyes, the words they choose. You can take all that and your brain will quietly analyze it to come up with a feeling like you described. You've concluded that there's something suspicious about this testimony without knowing why, that's all. Now, I think you should trust your instincts, Bruno. Iris, thank you. Sometimes I think if she's 10 years old, I must be 5. All right, let's look at... Well, look at the court record. What do we got? Let's see. Let's see, maybe... Can you present this here?
Objection!
No. That didn't work. I wanted to present the map, because it's like, oh, okay, so supposedly you never saw Mr. Windibank, and yet you know he was holding a gun. Alright, let's look at the court record again. Let me see if I can talk my brain through this. Back, I did not mean to do that. Maybe I could present that, so you guys were looking for this? I'm gonna present this. Because it says that he was holding a gun. Yeah, but Gina was holding the gun, so that doesn't work. Right?
Objection!
Nope, that's not it either. Alright. Part of me wants to run through pressing again instead of just randomly presenting. Maybe a reaction would pop up. It doesn't seem like any of the evidence really does much here. So I'm gonna just press through it.
Hold it!
I do appreciate that I don't have to check everybody's visuals as we press, because it'll pop up on the little bar there if somebody has a reaction. I missed that one. If I need to go back, I can do it again in a second. question is, though, was there another gun or something? Because how did...
Hold it!
Alright, so they did just fire one bullet from the gun. That's once. That's what it claims in the evidence. So then they did have to shoot Sholmes on the way out. So the question is... how did they get the gun in this situation from Gina and or Mr. Windibank to shoot Mr. Windibank? That's my question I'm running into here. Alright, I'm gonna press the second statement because I missed that one.
Hold it!
You heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously. Or perhaps... is it possible that they set up the scene afterwards? I don't think so. They ran away right away. I have no idea then. Maybe there's another gun that's hidden somewhere? Of course it was. So we do need to present something somewhere. Can we present maybe the picture? Be like, yo, Gina had the gun? Well, we could try that, we could try that, see how that goes.
Objection!
There we go. That's what we needed. You're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That's it, Gov. You've got the picture. Yes, Nash, yes, no question. And yet the photographic evidence from the time of the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not in possession of a firearm of any description.
Objection!
You surprise me. Does the defense really intend to highlight evidence that compromises the position of the accused even more?
Furthermore, the defense has failed to establish that the photographic print presented was taken a suitably short time prior to the victim's death. Your chronology is severely lacking, counsel.
Yeah, that's right. Too right, Nash, too right. The old geezer could have been about to turn the tables on the girl, eh? Hardly likely.
No, I'm afraid this won't stand as conclusive evidence.
Ugh. Alright, so that didn't work.
Continue with the cross-examination, counsel, and heed my earlier warning, witnesses.
Skulkin's never skulkin'. Alright, let's see what Iris has to say now. Iris, help me. And that's it? Ah. The same thing. Herbal tea if you're tired. I was so close. That doesn't help. Thanks, Susanto, though. Pawnbroker perishes in pick purse plunder. How awful for Ginny, I mean. But tomorrow's headline will be Discharged Diver is Dauntless Do-Gooder, right? Yeah, something like that. If possible, I'd like to go even bigger. Bigger? How? Proud pickpocket protects planet post-trial, perhaps? Protects planets? Ooh, I can't wait for tomorrow now. It's gonna be so great. Alright, I was hoping maybe. Does this have anything? There's a sensational story on lower down on the front page as well. Look. Ministry Mole classified secrets may have been leaked overseas for Ministry of Justice. For a 10-year-old, Iris certainly has her finger on the pulse of the world news. It's about secret communications between Great Britain and its allies. Apparently, they're being intercepted by hostile nations. Communications are being intercepted, but how would somebody be doing that? That's the question, isn't it? I've come up with 3 different possible methods so far. Are you looking for a new career, Runo? No, of course not. I wonder, perhaps this is what Lord Strongheart was talking about yesterday. Yes, it could be, and it could explain why he has Gregsy running from pillar to post at the moment. Interesting. I didn't actually think that would yield anything. All right. This is Mr. Windibank's gun. The cylinder is completely empty. Mr. Windibank always used to keep his gun to hand on his shop counter. Yes, but only ever with a single bullet loaded, I understand. That's right, to keep all the pawned articles that were in his care safe. But his one bullet was fired that night and the poor man lost his life. Was he protecting his shop, I wonder? Trying to keep the articles safe? So, there's ammunition still loaded in 5 of this revolver's 6 chambers. Yes, which tells us that only a single shot has been fired from it. Exactly. The bullet that hit Hurley, in fact, isn't it? Yes, it happened almost as soon as we walked in through Windibank's door. I'll make those brothers pay. Not necessarily. I mean, they could have just reloaded a bullet, right? Alright. I'm a little stuck here again. I don't like being stuck. I thought I was onto something there with the... picture presentation. They are very suspicious. Just not sure how to tackle it. I'm curious. Let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking here. Obviously, it doesn't help me at the moment, but I'm curious what would be your train of thought. I think maybe it has to do with the way they reenact it. It's like he was shot from the front, but we know he was shot from behind. Maybe let's try not those. That would be an instant incorrect. Where's the autopsy report? There it is. Let's try presenting the autopsy report. Or examine it some more. That works too.
Objection!
Alright, that doesn't reveal anything, Renosuke. Silly goose.
Damning, you say? It seems to me that is the damning inconsistency.
I really don't know. Really don't know. Man, this is driving me insane. I don't believe this. I mean, obviously they had a chance. I'm just worried to press something else because we're right on the last one. I just don't know how to connect how they encountered Mr. Winnebank. They know what he looks like. They heard his voice, but they also claim to have not seen him at the exact same time. Wish Iris had something else for us. Iris, it'd be great if you could give us some tea. I need it. Alright, so they didn't see Mr. Windibank at all. But they also saw Mr. Windibank. So this, when we presented this, they claimed it was too far away from the scene of the crime, from when it happened. But he's not holding the gun. Do we just have to present the photograph? Be like, look, he's not holding the gun. Would that be okay? Last life, last chance.
Objection!
It worked this time. That's what I thought last time. So you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That's it, Gov. You've got the picture. He has, Nash. He has, no question. And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not holding a firearm of any description. You what? Gordon Bennett, that ain't right.
Objection!
There can be no question that the victim's revolver was used in the incident. And I would remind the courts that Mr. Windibank's gun was found at the scene. Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand. Yeah, that mole tooler used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun! Bam! Kind of thing.
Hold it!
Stay exactly where you are, right there. Eh? If the crime had taken place as you so colorfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out.
Goodness, are you sure, counsel?
You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where is the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments? Again? Is it the autopsy report? Oh, I'm nervous. I want to present the autopsy report, but I don't know. I mean, it says he was shot in the back. I mean, that has to be it.
Take that!
According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot.
Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe.
Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report, it clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. Ow. So as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. Skulkin. Yeah. But, it's the God's honest truth. It is, Nash, it is. When he was shot that night, the shopkeeper had a gun in his hand, and we saw it with our own bleeding eyes. Oh, I thought you didn't see the scene of the crime. Did I just hear you right now? You actually saw Mr. Windibank holding a gun? Something like that might have slipped out. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question, they actually saw, with their own eyes, the victim wielding a gun. Which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Nash,
Order! Witnesses, explain yourselves at once.
Well, the thing is, we weren't supposed to, It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witness would be the death of you.
Am I to understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies?
Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, we Cut it out, Nash, cut it out. If we blab now, you know what it'll do to us. Who are they talking about? Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Bruv, come on, the game's up. But you'll have our guts for garters. Case hasn't quite sunk in yet. No matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out.
On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place.
Well, do we have to? On pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth. Alright, so he just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we had it. For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. I pulled my gun on him and then he legged it through that door into the back room. We never had nothing to do with killing him, that's what happened, I swear. So you're now telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop. Well, yeah. Sorry.
Well, we find ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably.
But honest, Governor, this time, Nash, this time, we ain't got nothing more to hide.
Very well, counsel for the defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Why would you be relieved to see him? When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Mr. Windibank? Who else? Sorry, I mean, that's right. We was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gaff, obviously. We never thought no one was gonna come out of the back room like that. The back room being the pawnbrokery storeroom. Yeah, that must be where he popped up from. Only place he could have been. So it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises. Which means Ginny must have been in there at that point as well. Well, that doesn't make sense, does it? And if Ginny had threatened Mr. Windibank into the storeroom with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived? Oh, I don't know. Did you see the accused at that time? What, that Molly Tula? Couldn't tell ya. No way, Cobo, we had bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it. Hold it! You mentioned that Mr. Windibank shouted those words in your previous testimony, too. However, you claim that you heard him yelling them on the other side of the storeroom door. Oh, did we? But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Well, yeah. Was the victim, Mr. Windibank, wielding a gun at the time? Was he ever, blimey lummy? At a great ugly barrel he had pointed straight at me frontispiece. So what you're saying is, you definitely saw Mr. Windibank with the gun at the time. Is that right? It is, Gov, it is. Spot on. And all of a sudden he came at us, he did? It was bedlam. I didn't know who was going for who. You were clearly all going for each other. Like Nash said, we thought we'd had it. I mean, for an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter.
Hold it!
Yes, I noted that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony, too. Well, yeah, of course we did. You knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette, what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them scales on the floor. So in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shocked you and made you knock those things off the counter. Well, Big Brevia went flying over the counter like a gunshot, I can tell you. Then the old geezer pinned him. He did, Nash, he did. If you hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a bloomin' pancake in seconds. At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via secret cable from the pawnbrokery. There is a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. That's right, when the brothers fled the scene and back onto the street, they ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Windibank, he did everything he could to protect his shop. Alright, so he pulled the gun and then went in the back room. Were you intending to shoot Mr. Windibank? Nah, never. I was just, looking out for me bruv, weren't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled, yes. And then the man fled into the storeroom where you pointed your gun at him, is that it? Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away and then ran off through that door and shut him himself. There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. I wonder why Mr. Windibank ran away to the storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Ginny was in there waiting for him, with a gun. Ah, yes, that's right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Windibank's gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Windibank's hands again? I have no idea, but that is strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency could be significant. I should make a mental note of it. Alright, so even though that was plainly obvious to us before, that wasn't something we were supposed to pick up on, which is why I guess I got so many penalties last time. Because you're just supposed to focus on the fact that Mr. Windibank had a gun, not that Gina no longer had a gun because Mr. Windibank had the gun. Look, the point is me and Brevia. That's right, Nash, that's right, me and Brevia. We never had nothing to do with killing him, that's what happened, I swear.
Hold it!
Yeah, sure. Sure you didn't. You say you had nothing to do with it? Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov, nothing. The old geezer went and shut himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was from the inside. We know it was, because we tried to open it. But it's a decent door, that one, good and strong, wouldn't budge an inch. So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade. Ah.
It would indeed appear so. What say you to that, counsel?
I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could possibly have shot Mr. Windibank? Yeah. Mr. Skulkin. Eh, what? What's that look for? From the moment you admitted that you'd encountered the victim face-to-face that night, the course of this trial changed completely. It did? What is your point, my learned friend? And the question we must answer is, who could have shot Mr. Windibank? And it is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts. So pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be?
Counsel, you must now provide answers to the court in respect of 2 conundrums.
2, my lord? Twice as many chances to be right, maybe?
Indeed, namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at the time?
Understood, my lord. Are you all right, Runo? I'm not entirely sure, but there's only one thing I'm sure about. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it would change Gina's prospects hugely. Bigly, even. So now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answers to the question posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. Well, I mean, you think it would have to be right outside the door, right? Like right here, right? Right? Shoot him through the window? The defense believes that the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. And in answer to the second question, assuming the culprit fired from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time? Should be like right here.
Take that!
The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. Mr. Windibank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot when he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired?
So you are adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom?
Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled my gun on him and then he legged it through that door into the back room. If Mr. Windibank ran away through the door, we have to assume that the door was open at the time. It was at precisely that moment when the victim was fleeing for his life that these brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner, his report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. It means that the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Poor man shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Ah, of course. He would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory. So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windibank.
Objection!
And I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock? But, what if someone else locked the door? Yes, there is someone else who could have locked the storeroom door. Is that so?
Very well then, counsel. Present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, the defense's assertion that the victim was shot from the outside the storeroom. In which case, who shut and locked the storeroom door from the inside?
I mean, Gina was the only other person in there. And Gina was like, I don't want to get shot too.
Take that!
Playing with fire here with that one last penalty. And obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Objection!
This is absurd. You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room? For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck. I am inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel.
Ah, yes, that's a tricky one, isn't it?
Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please.
But of course Ginny would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does? Well, if I was Ginny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh yes, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Windibank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point, Mr. Windibank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, eh? That's us, bruv. If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom door, hoping to escape danger. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Windibank fell to the floor where he was, just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? I see where you're going with this. Now, outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Windibank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it, in order to save her own life.
Hold it!
But we ain't the ones who done it. We ain't, Gov, we ain't. You gotta believe us. I mean, come on, we never shoot no one.
Objection!
You literally shot Holmes! You shot Sholmes on the way out! That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact you would. Because before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There's only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Windibank's murder. Ugh. You mean to say it wasn't a pickpocket who shot the pawnbroker after all? I should have known it was those three brothers. They look shady as a dense forest. That was amazing, Runo. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now. I know, first time ever, and probably the last. Well, I think you've done it. Surely they'll have to give a verdict of not...
An admirable effort, my learned friend.
What's this now? He's laughing.
You find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zakes? I myself find the defense's argument most persuasive. I dare say. Such chicanery is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial eastern nation. But such blatantly malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pettifoggery here.
I don't know what pettifoggery means. What?
The hypothesis you put forward so ostensibly credibly cannot and will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw.
A fatal flaw?
Do you mean to tell me that you're unaware of your logic's failing?
I say, Lord Van Zeeks, might be an idea to explain this bally conjuring trick or whatever it is to the troops on the ground.
The fatal flaw in my learned friend's arguments is really very simple to understand. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets.
By George, count bullets. Oh dear. He noticed then. Huh? What's everyone talking about? Counsel? Yes, sir? Tell the courts how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime. Two. 2 bullets. Correct. The first, that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life. And the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, on his arrival at the scene.
Indeed. The defense presented a picture showing the damage caused by the second bullet early in the proceedings. The bullet which injured Mr. Holmes appears to have passed through his body to strike the calendar.
Your lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know there are 2 firearms involved in the incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Windibank, and the Skulkin brothers' revolver. The evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun. Yes, it does. That's unfortunate. I picked up on that earlier than I forgot.
Yes, it does. A single bullet from each.
Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these 2 brothers shot Mr. Sherlock Holmes right before your eyes. Yes, I did. Oh my goodness, I think you'll find.
That if the single bullet that was fired from the brother's gun hit Mr. Holmes, it means...
Windibank not shot by same gun, stop. Only 1 bullet, stop. Exactly. Yes, this Nipponese street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick with no hope of standing up to scrutiny. Ugh. Yeah, I thought we had something good there. Once again, getting bamboozled here by Van Zeeks. Always telling me I'm wrong.
Order.
Yeet the bottle. Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of this hollowed nectar into the public gallery. Oh, so that means I hit somebody.
Lord Van Zeeks.
But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can, regrettably, no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She has a past riddled with criminal conduct. The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond doubt in this print which depicts her threatening the victim with the murder weapon. And I have here in my possession one more piece of the evidence the prosecution wishes to present. That disc. I'll be taking that whatever it is of Mr. McGilden down to the yard, thank you very much. No, don't give it to him, it's mine, that is, mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGilden has to be taken in as evidence now. Yes, that music box disc. McGilden's music box disc. The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Windibank, the accused attempted to make off with this article, which clearly doesn't belong to her. And with none of the subtlety of a pickpocket, I might add, but by brute force and brazen impudence.
Good gracious.
Make no mistake, any sympathy for the accused on account of her years is misguided and dangerous. There are no depths to which this girl would not stoop if pushed, no crime she would not commit. The court forgets that fact at its peril.
I see. I think it would be prudent to take this music box disc into evidence, counsel, as a grim testament to the defendant's character.
Lord Van Zeeks, I am... Inspector Gregson, what? Yes, Inspector? We had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and, I think it was agreed the disc wouldn't be used as evidence. What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? That's the first time he said anything to Van Zeeks at all. I am unaware of any such meeting. But those were the instructions right from the top. The government bigwigs were insistent. Inspector, I am the prosecutor and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is noted, thank you. The prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting this disc as evidence, my lord.
Indeed, bailiff.
The prosecution has established the accused's motive, opportunity, and baseness of character. There is nothing more to add. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decisions and rest my case. I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once. For all of 5 minutes. Oh dear. It wasn't even for 5 minutes, Bruno.
My lord.
Oh, my lord. Wonder if I might say something at this point.
Proceed, Mr. Foreman.
Been stumbling about in a bit of fog up to now, if the truth be told. But all of a sudden, the answer's barely obvious to me and my men. There's only one thing for it. No.
Very well, the court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you will present your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
We have a consensus among the jury, it seems.
When you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. That's my line. I wrote that for Hurley. How dare he use it against us? Don't worry, Iris. I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be, because there's one thing that I'm absolutely certain of. That Gina didn't shoot Mr. Winterbank. That's beyond any doubt.
Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other jurors ready?
Daredevil Squadron is primed and ready for action, sir.
Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty.
All right. The jurors' contentions. Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say. Different breed to us law-abiding citizens. As only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say the whole case is done and dusted. You don't need a stereoscope to see the truth here. Every which way you look at it, it was that pickpocket.
I never imagined that simple operation would cause me such grief.
The accused attempted a theft on the previous day. I can see I'm in for a busy day ahead. I am ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There is nothing I do not know about guns.
It would seem there is little remaining room for doubt.
I have to admit, I was rather bowled over by the argument put forward by the Chapman Black. When that fell apart like a house of cards, I saw that I'd jolly well been hoodwinked. Well, no more. Ugh, the whole courtroom is turning against me. It's not fair. Iris, that prosecutor's being mean. Just because Jenny's done something she shouldn't have done in the past, that doesn't make her a murderer. Allow me to savor this fruity vintage while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debates on the matter. Here's to the truth coming out. Eventually.
That's enough preamble. Counsel, proceed with the summation examination.
Yes, my lord. One thing I want to do, though, before we forget, like, I want to look at the music box. Why all of a sudden are we adding the music box to... Why are we just adding this to the court record? Why doesn't the government want us to add it to the court record? Is it because it says from McGilded? For McGilded? That's the man you defended in court a couple months ago, isn't it, Bruno? Yes, or rather mistakenly defended. Now, I wonder what his name is doing on the back of this disc. That's a question I'd love to know the answer to myself. Let me look at the blood. Iris, can you spray this? Oh, Bruno, look! This is blood! Yes, you're right. Just a small smear, but definitely blood. Actually, I feel as though I might have noticed that before. Ah, then it's my time to shine again. I thought I'd be waiting forever. Alright, hold still with that disc, Bruno. Can we get this done quickly, Iris? In a flash. Herlock's blood's on the disc? Ooh, a lovely bright shade again. Wait, that color? What is it? It's just that green. It's not the first time we've seen that color, is it? Wait, is that... What's going on here? That's why I didn't think this was... So it's the bullet that went through Sholmes, but the thing that's weird is the blood stain was already there when we went in. I was thinking maybe it was just an error in the game. Maybe they didn't mean to preload that new parts yet. But that was there before we walked in, and now the blood is on the disc. So that means it's not Herlock, right? Well, this guy, we know this guy's not going to, not talk to us.
Hold it!
Let's see what she has to say. It's a number of bullets that has you convinced. Only 2 bullets were fired, and the 2 guns that fired them have been examined by the police. When the parlor maid asks me how many are invited for dinner, I always tell her to count the table settings. Well, that's logical, I suppose. Although... Yes? Sometimes after dining, crockery does go missing. 1 or 2 guests rather like fine china. Does your employer dine with thieves? So I suppose. If there was another bullet somewhere of which we were unaware, I'd have to reconsider my position. A 3rd bullet somewhere on the scene. Could that possibly be? I feel like... Oh no! Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Can I undo that? What did I just get myself into here? I mean, no matter what I present, it's gonna be wrong, because none of it's a bullet. Maybe? I'm gonna present this. Be like, look, I'm not convinced that that's the bullet that's in that went. Because, like, I'm not convinced. no. Alright. We lost the game. Alright, you guys get to see what it looks like when you lose the game.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
The mouse is cute. And I don't have stick, I have mouse. That was a good punt. That was a good punt. Let's retry from the scene. Yes. Alright. I'm skipping you. We don't need you yet. Alright, let's talk to him. So if I've understood correctly, you need 2 pictures, a left eye one and a slightly different right eye one.
Exactly, then you can see the scene in 3 dimensions. Like this.
So, if we have 2 bullets, I don't suppose you can see anything useful with them?
I think you'll find that no matter how much you squint, the truth of the situation always looks the same here. The only person who could have shot the victim is that girl in the dock.
I can be so sure of that.
Think about it, the Skulkin brothers shot the great detective, didn't they?
Yes, that's been mentioned once or twice.
Well then, surely it's coming into focus now, isn't it?
This is a waste of time. I'm not going to change this man's mind anytime soon. Alright, this is a guy who actually operated on Sholmes. Let's
Hold it!
Hello, old man. Would you please stop muttering about things that have nothing to do with this trial, sir? The defendant's life is on the line here.
Well, the thing is, I couldn't really say that it has nothing to do with this trial, to be honest.
Huh?
I mean, there's no question that the man was shot, but the bullet had simply vanished from his stomach. It's quite inexplicable, don't you think?
Nowls don't want to ask, but this surgery you've been muttering about all this time, you were operating on...
What was the fellow's name now? Hurlich? No, Herloch. No, Hairlock.
Herlock Sholmes, by any chance?
Yes, good lord. It was that Hairlock fellow.
What? You're the surgeon that operated on Mr. Sholmes?
That's right, using the very latest anesthesia techniques, I might add. It was a fairly major op, I can tell you.
This is crazy.
Let me see. The fellow was brought in not long after midnight, if I remember correctly. They said he'd been shot by some criminal or other, so I opened him up like a shot. The funny thing is, I went over his insides with a fine-tooth comb and couldn't find the bullet anywhere. So I'm afraid I had to throw up my hands and just stitch the fellow back up.
I hate to state the obvious, but
Yes?
surely that's because the bullet is still at the scene of the shooting?
The counsel for the defense is correct. As is clearly shown in this photographic print.
The bullet the Skulkin brothers fired at Mr. Sholmes hit him in the stomach region, then exited his body and lodged into the shop wall where the calendar was hanging by the door. I think you'll find it's really quite simple if you just consider the problem 3-dimensionally.
Ah, who do you think I am, son?
Well, juror number 4 is about the best I can do.
And as soon as I saw the wounds in the man's stomach, I flipped him over.
Like a pancake? Or are you saying that you checked his back?
Of course I did, and there wasn't a trace of injury. No sign that the bullet had
Left the body at all. What?
That's the point. The only logical conclusion was that the bullet was still somewhere in the man's innards. Which is exactly why I said about slicing him up. And I'm still none the wiser even now. How many times do I have to say it? Can somebody please explain how it happened? Can someone please solve the mystery?
It's almost as much of a mystery as to how this jury was put together. Yeah, you know about guns. I am ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There is nothing I do not know about guns.
Hold it!
I do not have stick, I have mouse. I thought you were just a tourist. I love how the mouse reads the book too. Good day, I am visiting London for sightseeing. I would like to take bus to Crystal Tower, please. There's no way he's just a visiting tourist. So, you're a ballistics expert? Who knew? And I have much experience with guns. Ah. And I have lived through many, how do you say, extreme violent baths of, no, blood of, extreme violent blood baths, perhaps? Nah, those, extreme violent blood baths. English is very difficult to tongue. Considering the sort of people you associate with, I'm surprised you still have a tongue. Anyway, if you have questions about bullets and guns, you ask me. There is nothing I do not know, no mystery I cannot solve. And he's very confident in his knowledge of guns, that's for sure. But if possible, please only in Russian language. He's not very confident in his knowledge of English, though, is he? No, still, we should bear it in mind. He's our man if there's a mystery about guns or bullets. How convenient! And Zeeks has managed to convince everyone. When you have eliminated the impossible, he said, but he hasn't. If we're going to fight back, we need more material. And we have to fight back. We have to turn this trial around again. Alright, well, you would like to know. We can have you talk to... You guys can talk to each other. Those two statements clearly contradict the idea that all I do is pit jurors against each other. Oh, a ballistics expert? Pitting. On the night in question, Mr. Sholmes was shot by one of the Skulkin brothers. But since there was no sign of an exit wound on his back, we must assume that the bullet didn't pass through him. However, no bullet was found lodged in Mr. Sholmes' body either. Furthermore, a bullet was found lodged in the wall of the shop where Mr. Sholmes was shot. Juror number 6. Hello, my name is Valen. Pleased to meet you. His name is Villain. His name is Villain. Why did it take me 18 episodes for that to set in? Maybe it did in part 2 and I just don't remember. My name is Villain. He can say that, V. Anyways, this apparent contradiction in the facts is so clearly troubling juror number 4. Are you able to explain the mystery? I have seen very similar situation in Motherland. It was night, there was blizzard. I was running away along mountain road in freezing cold.
Golly.
The snow was piling high on both sides of the road. It was very narrow and dangerous. My pursuers had hunting rifles as they were on dog sled. Mental notes, don't ask too many questions. I was shot from behind and I fell down in snow. And the situation was very similar to what I heard from Doctor. They could not find bullet in my body. And no sign of, how do you say, exit wound.
And then where did the bullet go?
Bullet never hit me.
Well, if it never hit you, why'd you fall down?
Bullet hit frozen wall of ice very close to my side. What? One small piece, very sharp, broke away from lump of ice and pierced my body. It made deep wound that looks just like bullet wound.
Good gracious.
Now, of course, piece of ice quickly melted inside me. And that is solution to mystery of disappearing bullet.
But that doesn't answer the question at all.
Hmm?
The shooting happened in a pawnbroker shop. Not some snowy mountain road in another country.
Just an idea, but we might not be looking at exactly the same scenario here. Runo! Where exactly was Hurley shot again? Well, according to the report, in his stomach. Sort of around this area, I think. Well, that's precisely where he always wears a little pouch on his belt. A pouch? Actually, I might have noticed something like that. Yes, a pouch. It's where he keeps 3 glass vials of his very dangerous chemicals that he uses in his investigation. What, really? Doctor, where is the pouch Mr. Sholmes was wearing?
Well, the fellow had nothing like that on his person when he arrived at the hospital, as far as I remember.
If I may, Lord Van Zeeks, while I realize it is forbidden for the prosecution to interject during a summation examination, I should inform the defense that I have the pouch in question in the antechamber outside the courtroom. Sorry? As I understand it, when the police arrived on the scene and found Mr. Sholmes injured, they removed the pouch in order to assess the wound.
Ah, thank goodness, I thought I was getting forgetful for a moment.
Like you didn't totally forget the scalpel inside of him. Since then, it has been in my safekeeping along with all other evidence relating to the case. And I can personally vouch for the fact that it has not been touched since the incident occurred.
Very well. While extremely unconventional during a summation examination, I must demand the prosecution presents the item in question with all speed. Bring forth Mr. Herlock Sholmes' pouch. I see. So this is the pouch worn by Mr. Sholmes on the night in question, is it?
Look at that! One of the vials is broken, and the leather around it is scorched black. It's almost as if the vial exploded.
Exploded?
So, that night, the bullet from the Skulkin brothers' gun struck Mr. Sholmes' pouch.
And it was the glass vial exploding that caused the fellow's injury?
This bullet did not penetrate victim, but was deflected into wall of shot. Okay. A delightfully complex aroma.
Well, it would appear one mystery has been solved at least.
Though it has no bearing on the truth of this case. The bungling and burgling brothers shot the detective, and the accused shot the pawnbroker. The pertinent facts of the case remain unaltered. Does it? Are you in the court record? Not yet. Okay.
At least the mystery is solved. I can sleep easy tonight. Thank you, young man.
Nah, thank you very much. I'm glad I could help.
Due to its bearing on the conundrum just solved, the court will sequester the scruffy pouch as evidence.
Hurley's pouch isn't scruffy. Alright, alright. Hey, look at that, I found a bullet! Yas! This vial has been smashed to pieces. Presumably, this is where the bullet struck. As soon as the bullet hit the chemical in that vial, there would have been a really big explosion. A big explosion? While Hurley's potions and chemicals are amazingly useful for the investigation work he does, but they're also quite tricky to handle. Safely, at least, they're very dangerous. Oh. Now, I'm sure that when this vial broke, the chemical inside would have ignited. Note to self, always walk on the right-hand side of Sholmes in the future. The left is the danger zone. Highway to the danger zone. Why won't it let me click on the bullet that is clearly sticking out of the pouch? Maybe I need to get at a different angle. Hi, hello. Can I click on you now? Oh my goodness, why can't I click on the vial? With the... Whatever. I'm gonna go harass juror number 2.
Now the summation examination. It would appear that the defense is somewhat struggling to alter opinion.
Please, my lord. A little more time. After all, that's a new piece of evidence. It could be a valuable clue, and you can't afford to overlook anything here, Renosuke. There's still a way to turn this around, somehow. I'm sure of it. Hurley always turns up at the right moment. I was just skipping through this. I thought we already saw this. Does he always come in the form of a pouch? Seriously though, it sounds like the great detective was on death's door. But maybe his injuries won't be for nothing. That pouch could be a very valuable clue. Alright, I want to... Maybe I had to wait for that to pass through before I can click on it. Let me click on the bullet. Alright, or not, or not. Sometimes the keys don't work. There we go.
Hold it!
Alright, before I punted, we already read this.
Take that!
Why won't it let me pass the bullet? That's... Why? Why? I must be clicking on something wrong. This is ridiculous. Yeah, I've been trying to click on this stupid bullet for how long? Do I have to click on it from the back when I can see it from the front? Oh look, there's a hole here at the back. It doesn't look much like a bullet hole, but clearly something's ripped through the leather with great force. Something must have pierced it somehow to have left this hole behind. Yes, it looks that way. Mr. Sholmes and his pouch both took a beating, didn't they? Why can't I click? These glass vials are full of Hurley's homemade potions. Homemade? Yes, like fingerprint powder to show up where people have touched things. And scent amplifying solution to intensify smell lingering on an object. That's amazing. They're all very easy to use. There's just one thing that you have to be careful of. They're all very flammable. Mr. Sholmes is a walking bomb. Either he's passionate about finding out the truth or just oblivious to the dangers. Alright, so I clicked on the vials. I clicked on this. What do you want from me? It's really scorched badly just here. Oh, the strap is broken, look! This must be where the bullet hit then. Let me see. Why can I click on... Okay, Capcom. There's a lot of extra steps there. There's a lot of extra steps there, Capcom. What the iris? Look! Behind where the broken vial was. Do you see it? Ah! That's the Skulker Brothers bullet. What a stroke of luck that it hit his pouch. This is an amazing discovery. What this means is there were 3 bullets fired at Windibanks that night. We found exactly what that juror was talking about. The 3rd bullet. Time to press that juror again, I think. All right. Gotta go back. Circling around. I like the mouse.
Hold it!
It's possible. I can prove it. We found the 3rd bullet.
Take that!
Here it is. We discovered it just now. Yes, on the night in question, Windibank's pawnbrokery, another bullet was fired.
Hold it!
What is this new trickery, you Nipponese conjurer? Where did you find that bullet? It was lodged inside Mr. Sholmes' pouch. What? This pouch was removed from around Mr. Sholmes' waist before he was taken to the hospital, and since then it has been touched by no one.
Do you mean to say the shot fired by the Skulkin brothers that night?
Yes, as your lordship has surmised, it hit this pouch.
What, that makes no sense whatsoever. We already know the whereabouts of the bullet fired at Mr. Sholmes. It's clearly visible in his photographic print.
Ah! 2 guns from the scene have already been submitted into the court record as evidence.
Yes, that of Mr. Winterbank and that belonging to the Skulkin brothers.
An examination of both guns revealed that only a single bullet had been fired from each.
But that must mean...
That's right. We now know that on the night in question, 3 bullets were fired. However, only 2 bullets were fired from the guns recovered from the scene of the crime. And until that incontrovertible inconsistency is somehow explained, we cannot and must not pass judgment.
Order! While this summation examination remains incomplete, the court has been presented with new facts. Facts that would appear to shake the very foundations upon which this case against the defendant has been built. As is my prerogative in this situation, I hereby temporarily suspend the summation examination.
By Jupiter. What?
Bailiff, bring the witnesses back to the stand at once.
All right.
Witnesses,
Governor?
were you listening to the proceedings while the defense carried out the summation examination?
We was, Governor, we was. Perhaps we can dispense with the tedious preamble, simply answer this one question. A 3rd bullet has been identified at the scene of the crime. What did you make of that?
Make of it, Gov. I didn't make nothing, I can't help it.
Is it one of yours?
Go blimey, Gov, go blimey, not a chance.
In that case, did you have an accomplice?
What? What? Never, the Skulkin brothers work alone. It's just the 2 of us, that's our trademark.
How soon we forget poor Selkie? Only 2 of the bullets from the crime scene originated from the firearms we have in evidence. The 3rd bullet was fired from another gun. Where is it?
Lummy, that's an head scratcher.
Counsel for the defense,
Yes?
I should like to hear your thoughts regarding these new developments. The 3rd bullet and the mysterious missing firearm from whence it came.
Thinking back over all the testimony we've heard and all the evidence we've seen, I think I'm starting to form a picture of what really happened that night. My lord, I think it's clear what this 3rd bullet tells us about the Skulkin brothers. Huh. Did they have a gun that they dumped? I feel like they had a gun that they dumped. On that night at Winterbank's pawnbrokery, the brothers must have been in possession of another gun. We know that only 1 bullet was fired from each of the 2 firearms already in the court record. The logical conclusion, therefore, is that the brothers were working with an accomplice. An accomplice who was carrying a gun. All right, both answers are correct. An accomplice, you say? Pig's will. These protracted proceedings have already forced us to endure 2 summation examinations. Yet in all that time, there has been not a murmur of a 3rd man. This apparently wraith-like being exists. The court must be shown hard evidence. Without it, this fantasy will be crushed. Ah! prosecution demands answers on 2 counts. Firstly, proof, evidence that this accomplice was ever at the scene of the crime. And secondly, the identity of the spurious character. The Skulkins are lying, I know that. But how can I ascertain the identity of the person they're hiding?
Well, counsel,
I'm supposed to prove the existence of this accomplice, and reveal the person's identity even. In response to the prosecution's demand, my lord, the defense is... It's gotta be, Benedict. Joffrey. Probably hired these two to go find, you think there's a second disc. I think we can present. Random bloodstain. The defense is ready. I believe I can provide all the answers the prosecution demands. So, my Nipponese friend, despite the swimming eyes, you seem to think you have something to say. This promises to be interesting. I have to push forward now. There's no other option. I need to use every single piece of evidence available to me if it will make a difference.
in that case, counsel, I would ask you to present the evidence without delay. On the night in question, in the moments leading up to the death of the victim, what proof have you that there was a third intruder present at the scene?
Right? The mystery blood, right?
Take that!
The evidence is right here in this portfolio.
By Jove, that portfolio again, is it?
Oh wait, it does prove that Benedict... There's Benedict blood on the CD. That is right! Oh! Do you expect the court to rifle through your papers itself? Be more specific. You claim one of those blood samples proves the presence of this third intruder. Well, which one is it? This one.
Take that!
What am I looking at here? There appears to be some green paint or such like around the bullet hole in the middle of the calendar.
That's a bloodstain, my lord.
A bloodstain?
Green blood. Curious, even for you. Is the court to understand that the intruder was some unhuman creature? It's something developed by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. By the great detective. New invention, stop. Not yet appeared in stories, stop. It's this, you see. It doesn't have a name yet, though. This fogger spray is a chemical that reacts with different elements in people's blood to change its color.
Different elements of people's blood?
Yes, everyone's blood is slightly different, you see, because it's made up of different elements. So by seeing what color it changes to, you can tell in a flash whose blood it is. Ooh, that brings a whole extra dimension to looking at blood. Talk of blood in courtroom, stop. Very exciting, stop. As an example, this one shows the blood of the victim, Mr. Winterbank.
Ah, striking blue.
Yes, so you see, the green color of this bloodstain on the calendar shows that somebody else was shot in the main part of the shop. Now hold fire there, young man. Could be from some unrelated incident, couldn't it? No, it's not unrelated. The date showing on the calendar is the date on which Mr. Winterbank was killed. By golly. Therefore, we can assume that whoever was shot on the same day.
Then whose blood is it?
Well, the Skulkin brothers were in the stand and don't appear to be suffering any gunshot injuries. Which means it must be the blood of somebody else. The third intruder, in fact.
Objection!
Whose identity is the court still waiting to hear? You can't delay this any longer, my lone friend. Who is this alleged third intruder? This weirdo.
Take that!
Jojo Pose McGee. The man's name is Eggert Benedict.
Eggert Benedict? Who on earth are you talking about, counsel?
He paid a visit to Winterbank's pawnbroker in the afternoon before the incident took place, when the accused attempted to deceive the pawnbroker into releasing this article into her possession. That's right. The man identified by the defense, Mr. Egbert Benedict, then attempted to take the article from the defendant by force.
Broker.
Yes, sir.
I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you now.
Yes,
The article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. Now that's a lie. What are you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel. And needless to say, any music box discs, too. Inspector Gregson was there at the time and can attest to what happened. In the end, it was the inspector himself who took the disc.
Can you corroborate this account, Inspector?
Yes, my lord, that's more or less what happened. And in the interest of being thorough, I asked Windebank for a print showing the fella. Taken from one of his red-handed recorder gubbinses. Yes, that's him talking to Mr. Windebank that morning.
And you claim this man is the brother's accomplice?
Well, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Never seen the geezer before in my life. All me life, Gov, all me life, never seen him.
Well, somewhat unsurprisingly, it appears all witnesses disagree with the assertion.
And I'm sure your lordship recalls my lord Nipponese friend's actual assertion, which was that he could prove the identity of the alleged accomplice. Yes, and I can.
Then show us the evidence.
I agree. We must see proof that the clean-cut gentleman in the photograph is the filthy criminal you say he is. We have the blood on the disc. This is the last piece of evidence, and I've had a feeling that something has been missing in this trial from the very start. But now I'm going to drag it kicking and screaming into the courtroom.
Are you ready to present your answer to the court then, counsel?
Yes, my lord. The defense will present the evidence now. Proof that the man pictured in this photographic print was in fact the person struck by the third bullet.
Take that!
Here it is. This is the irrefutable evidence. Now, do I have to present the portfolio again? All right. All right. I guess we present the portfolio again. There it is.
Take that!
No? What? What is it then? I'm gonna just let it autoplay so I don't have to keep smacking the keyboard. Wait, I thought we... Did we not add this? Oh, Runo! We sprayed it already. It turned green. Why didn't it get added to the portfolio? Okay. I'm doing it again. I know it has to be this.
Take that!
The proof is right here in this portfolio.
Good gracious, Counsel, does that portfolio contain the answers to every question posed?
Now I see you share my interest in claret-colored liquids, my Nipponese friend, but... Enough. The court demands to see further evidence. Which blood sample proves the man you identified was the one shot by the third bullet at the scene of the crime?
Take that!
As I mentioned before, on the afternoon of the day in question, the defendant attempted, deceitfully admittedly, to reclaim this disc from Windibanks.
Which is when the aforementioned Egbert Benedict appeared on the scene, I believe. This man then attempted to purloin the article from the defendant's possession, no?
That's correct, my lord. I myself was present at the time. It was following this that a minor incident occurred. But of course, sir, here's the disc for you. Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style. Wait a minute, that disc is mine? Arr, what do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal! Being a music box disc, it had countless small but sharp metal protrusions over its surface. Those protrusions caused Mr. Benedict's finger to bleed. And the resulting smear of blood is still visible on the disc now.
Goodness, a blood stain, is it?
My assistant and I have just analyzed the bloodstain here in this very courtroom. Using my trusty fogger gun. Yes, and we added the results to this portfolio. I say, it's green! It's exactly the same color as the blood around the calendar. The evidence is conclusive. The man calling himself Mr. Egbert Benedict, who was in Windibanks earlier in the day, is the accomplice who was present at the scene of the crime that same night. There's someone else there. Look at those two brothers now. They're sweating buckets. Oi, who are you talking about? It's boiling in here. My lord, it is the opinion of the defense that Mr. Egbert Benedict should be summoned to the courtroom to testify.
It would certainly seem that we can ill afford to ignore this gentleman's apparent presence.
Objection!
This has gone on long enough now. There's flagrant ignorance of the mechanics of law. Herlock Sholmes, you say? Yes, I've heard the name. The protagonist in a series of short stories for the vulgar classes. A god of detection or some such. And now you employ chemical substances devised by this fantastical persona in the highest courts of the land. You expect us to take you seriously? The samples made by this plaything are not fit to be called evidence. So the bloodstain turned a shade of green. What of it? Here's to you successfully proving that no other blood in the world would turn the same color. Ah, well. And pray, do not even think of suggesting that we should take Mr. Sholmes' word for it. Is he right? Is Mr. Sholmes' concoction a load of rubbish? I don't know. I mean, he is a great detective. What are you talking about? We can't let him get away with that. I knew it would come to this. Of course, Mr. Sholmes' invention isn't going to be recognized by any official body. But what other choice did I have? I'm just remembering what Father Christmas over there said before. About how he was temporarily suspending the Summation Examination. Huh. In other words, the examination isn't over yet, is it?
Good grief, what did you just say, young girl?
And in a summation examination, the decision as to whether or not trial continues is in the hands of the 6 jurors, isn't it? Yo, Irish just big brain Van Zeeks over here. So the way I see it, it doesn't matter what certain other people think of Hurley's invention. Now, at least, not for now. Yes, she's right.
Young lady, you have quite the devious mind.
It really just comes down to one thing. whether these ladies and gentlemen of the jury are convinced by what you say, Runo. Is that about right, would you say? Or did I misunderstand something? Unbelievable. Mr. Sholmes' partner is a force to be reckoned with. Iris Wilson, sharpshooter.
After that shrewd presence of the situation from an entirely unexpected source, it must be acknowledged that the previous summation examination is yet to reach its conclusion.
This is absurd.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court now looks to you for your final leanings in this matter. As proud citizens of Her Majesty's Britain, I'm sure you will have come to fair and just conclusions. So then, state your final decisions in turn, please.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Not guilty.
Two called guilty and four called not guilty. Such is the outcome of the summation examination.
Objection!
My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage. The prosecution refuses to accept this decision.
On what grounds?
If these jurors are persuaded by some half-baked concoction devised by a pretender to real police work, then they are too ignorant to be trusted with the judgment of anyone's guilt.
I'm sorry, Lord Van Zeeks, but the outcome of the summation examination cannot be ignored. The trial will continue.
Ah.
Nevertheless, we find ourselves in a rather awkward situation. The defense has very reasonably requested the subpoena of a new witness. But sadly, I fear that will be impossible.
What?
The name the gentleman gave for himself, Egbert Benedict, is quite clearly false.
I don't believe it. Just when I'd managed to prove the man was there that night.
Could I say something?
Who was that?
Who was that, please? Who spoke?
Oh, it's this lady. Oh, can I say something? It was me, my lord. Juror number 5.
What have you to say, madam?
If possible. Inspector. Me, ma'am.
I wonder if you might show the photographic print to me again. The one in which the gentleman is shown.
All right, yes. This one you mean, of Mr. Benedict? Yes. There's no doubt in my mind. Juror number 5, you don't mean to say you know this man? Yes, I know him. What?
No. Good gracious! Order! Juror number 5, how on earth?
I'm a communications officer, stop. As we can clearly see, the gentleman in the photograph is, stop. Also a communications officer, stop. He works in my office, stop.
A very talented operator, in fact, stop. He should be in the communication station now, stop.
Tapping away on the telegraph, stop. This doesn't seem right somehow. I can't put my finger on why, but it doesn't feel right. Ah, because Egbert Benedict is a government spy. I suppose we all imagine the accomplice would be some sort of hardened criminal. It's a bit unexpected to find out that he has a respectable job by day, whatever he gets up to at night. Yes, I suppose that's it. I suppose that's why I felt something was wrong.
If the gentleman is at London's communication station, we should be able to subpoena him within the hour. Lord Van Zeeks, if you please.
Yes, my lord.
Make the necessary arrangements with all haste.
As your lordship bids.
The court will recess for 1 hour. When the new witness arrives, we shall reconvene to hear the gentleman's testimony. Inspector Gregson.
Yes, my lord!
I should like to hear from you specifically about events at the pawnbrokery on the day in question. Come to my chambers during the recess.
Yes, sir, my lord.
Very well. Court is adjourned until 1:40 p.m.
All right, so that finishes up trial part 2. Woo, was not expecting to get myself into trouble here today, but man, that was crazy. The picture issue really threw me for a loop. I thought I was onto something, and then I guess I should have just thought right away to check the other picture, but no, I had trouble with that one for sure. And then I punted. I was like, sure, let's see what saying yes gets us to, forgetting that we were on 1, and then we did technically lose the game there. But ooh, so I'm really curious. So it seems like did Benedict shoot himself? Why would he? So he got shot. Then maybe did they swap guns? I don't know. That doesn't really seem to make sense. I'm not sure what's up with that. But he's a communications officer, and we clicked on the newspaper, and there was someone in communications leaking information to other people. And he was after the disc from McGilded. And that disc came from the Mason to McGilded to the pawn shop to Gina to Benedict. And then Strongheart wanted it not used as evidence and wanted it to hide his existence. Ooh, there's a lot going on here. There is a lot going on here. But this was a bit of a longer episode than I expected, so let me just go ahead and wrap this on up pretty quickly. Lots of thoughts running through my mind. Big chain of events all in relation to this disc. I mean, I hope we can get to play it, so I'm curious what's on the disc. Is it secret information? Is that how stuff is passed along? And perhaps was McGilded actually being a good guy and stealing, intercepting the disc? I have no idea what's up with that, because he doesn't seem like a good guy at all. But why did he have the disc? Why is this guy, who is potentially a government spy, trying to take the disc? What's on that disc? And I hope we can find out. Perhaps all of Herlock's orders, online orders, or whatever, however he got those. I don't know how he was able to order one of every single music box in Europe. To try out the disc. Maybe we'll find out what it is. So I really don't know what's going on. Leave your ideas, thoughts, suggestions, theories in the comment section down below. You guys know I love reading all your comments. But with that does it here for episode number 18. If you guys enjoyed this part, I know I struggled a bit, but definitely not as bad as episode number 17. Number 17 was rough, but stumbled a little bit here, but we got through it. But if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to go on ahead and hit that like button. Comments from me, leave those down below. And of course, if you're not yet part of the Allie's Treasure Trove family, I'd love to have you join us. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Now, also before I get on out of here, of course, do have to give a big shout out to all of my patrons over on Patreon. Do have 4 Ultimate Excavators, Jack Perez, Keith Muta, Mako, and Stephen Olivo, 3 Gemstone Miners, and in Mark Mardini and Stephen Bly, and 1 Crystal Collector, John Michek. But thank you so much to all of my patrons over on Patreon. Really appreciate each and every one of you. And of course, whether you're on a tier in which I say your name at the end of every video or not, I still absolutely, truly do appreciate your guys' above and beyond continued support. But that does it for me here tonight. It's quite late. I'm quite tired and very curious to find out what happens tomorrow. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. Take care, and I hope you'll join me as we hope to solve these mysteries here on Allie's Treasure Trove. Take care. Like I said, see you guys tomorrow.